You're that close to the, I just see like people
me going over?
catapulting.
Well, then it would be very entertaining.
Looks pretty agile.
But please welcome to the stage our next presenter, Mr. Jason Kenzie.
Hi guys. I don't know, do you need this? Does this help?
I don't think so.
Not really. So I will tell you a bit about myself. I am a animal photojournalist. So for 25 years, I have traveled around the world meeting people that live with the most amazing animals. From wolves, tigers, bears, ostriches, monkeys, and you name it, alligators. And my motto is, for me to interview you on your animal or your pet, there can't be any cages. I have to be able to hug the animal. Hug. Didn't go over too well with the alligator. Yeah, there was a guy that had 2 10-foot alligators. When I found out that he had this and he asked me to come and interview him, I said, fine. And I come walking into his facility and he raised these alligators from this big. And I'm like, where are these alligators? And my camera person was talking to him and distracted him. And he goes, oh, it's in that room there. And turned and started talking to the camera person. And I turned, I'm like, okay. And I go walking into the room, not realizing that the alligator is very possessive over the master, his owner. And so as I walk in, the alligator lunges out of the pool and I fly backwards and I'm literally doing this, and he comes running in. Wow. And stops it before anything happened. That's what I've been doing for 25 years. So when the pandemic hit, I got focused on thinking, well, I'm going to do Sasquatch because Sasquatch is like an animal. But I'm kind of an open-minded skeptic. So I didn't know what to believe. And I started interviewing someone. Someone said, look, I had an encounter with Sasquatch. So I went over and I interviewed them, and the story they told me just blew my mind. And I asked all the questions. Could it be a bear? Could it be a porcupine? Could it be a chipmunk? Because, you know, late at night, a little tiny chipmunk can sound like a grizzly bear walking through the forest because your imagination goes crazy. And of course, all the, check off the box. No, 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 no. And so he said, well, you have to go and talk to this person. So I went and talked to another person, and that person told me an incredible story. I have chapter 2, Searching for Sasquatch, a documentary that I've made of my experiences going into the forest, sometimes by myself, because sometimes my camera people would get kind of scared and want to run off, and I had to try and stop them. Everybody that I talked to would lead me to someone else. So in chapter 1, this is chapter 2 I'm going to show you tonight. And chapter 1 led me to an area in the middle of the mountains, to a lake where I had a drone with me and I flew it over the lake, and there were hundreds of these huge footprints just walking through the lake. And the First Nations people told me that is a migration path. And when I looked on the map, you could see where it would, it lines up to other, and I talked to some of the First Nations where they had rocks thrown at their houses or their houses were being pushed. And like I said, being a skeptic, I do not look at anyone who says they've seen a Sasquatch as a bad thing. Like I'm not judgmental. I'm open-minded. So then it led me to chapter 2, where I interviewed an officer who said that they had an encounter where they saw a UFO and there was a bright light, and right after that there was 2 Sasquatches that came walking out of the forest. And I begged to interview her. Begged her. I begged to interview her, and she said no. And I said, well, I'll black you out and I will change your voice. And she still said no. So finally I said, let me do a test and I'll show you what I can do. So I did a little test and I showed her and she said, okay, we'll do it. And so that's in chapter 2. And I've interviewed psychics, mediums, a woman that is a channeler to this god being named Pax. Does anyone know who Pax is?
No.
Pax is allegedly a god being. And it's one of the questions I asked her. And she's a channeler where it comes through and she writes. She writes books through this Pax person.
Okay.
So she'll be like doing something, like writing a book or something, and all of a sudden she'll just get into this zone and Pax will come through. And remember, I'm being a skeptic, I'm like, I want to believe it, right? But until, I don't know what to believe 100%. But I asked her, well, ask Pax what Sasquatch is. And she did, and that's what she sounded like. No, I asked her what Sasquatch is, and she told me. She told me what Pax told her. And I asked her, is Pax the actual God that everyone talks about? And she said, well, he's the almighty universe. He is everything around you. And you'll see in chapter 2. And I'm behind the camera going, wow, this is pretty cool. This is quite interesting, and you'll see this. But I will go into the forest by myself, and it is scary. Scary, oh yeah, I forgot it's off. It is scary sometimes when you're all by yourself in the forest. And I don't know how many people have gone into the forest by themselves, searching. You by yourself?
Oh yeah.
Oh well, yeah. Well, okay. So it can be scary, right? You're by yourself. You're in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden, you hear children playing. Has anyone had that happen?
No.
Where you actually hear like what sounds like children playing for just a second. Yeah, it's kind of creepy. And you're sitting there and everything is just amplified, right? And you're aware of everything. You're like,
Oh yeah.
what was that?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been an adventure. That's the thing. That one thing about searching for Sasquatch, I love hiking and camping and getting outside, right? Because it's better than Netflix. Trust me, my belly has told me otherwise. Damn those Netflix. But going out, and then you have to run for your life because of a chipmunk, because you don't know what is out there. So I'm from Vancouver, Canada.
Oh, great.
Okay, I guess I should have said that at the beginning. Should I start over? Hi, my name is Jason Kenzie, and I'm from Vancouver, Canada. And we are in an area that is allegedly the Sasquatch hotspot in the world, allegedly. So, like I said earlier, when the pandemic hit, I thought, well, I'm in this area, so why not go and have some fun? I didn't have to wear a mask, right? So out in the field, so I probably contaminated a lot of Sasquatches with those apples. So yeah, does anyone have any questions? Anything?
I have a question.
Yeah.
What is the name of your YouTube channel?
It's A Photo Warrior.
Okay.
There's no space. How many people here have pets? And don't say Sasquatch. Don't say Sasquatch. Oh yeah, what do you have?
Pets, I have a rabbit and rats and a dog.
Oh, cool. And they all get along?
The rabbit
Together?
bosses everyone around.
Oh yeah, of course. There's rabbits. Anyone else?
You ever had any rocks thrown at you?
No. I haven't had any rocks.
Or pebbles?
So there's an area in BC, we call it Wellgraves Park, and you have to canoe. So you take like an hour and a half drive down this dirt road, and then you stop, hike in for another half hour, and then you get to, you can rent a canoe, and then you paddle out, for like 2 or 3 hours, and you're in the middle of nowhere. And so when I start my documentaries, I'm always like, I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to be meeting this lady who says she had an encounter. This is going to be awesome. Before I started, so when I started doing that, there was a tree in front of me, and I would walk out, and I would howl, woo! Nothing. But guess what? I'm on my way to meet this guy, to meet this with a Sasquatch encounter. It's going to be awesome. I would always screw up. I'd be like, I'm on my roll. God, let me try again. I go behind a tree, and I come back out. Woo! So I screwed up 4 times. On the 4th time, when I came out of the tree and I howled, I was like, I got this gutturing growl that went on for like, I think, 10 seconds. It was like, and I'm wearing a microphone, like a wireless microphone. And those wireless microphones, they're made so you don't see any, so you don't hear anything from outside, right? It's made so it cuts out the ambient sound. Well, when I went, I was kind of upset throughout the whole time because I'm thinking, well, I didn't get it because of I just realized, why am I holding this the entire time? You watch, I'm going to forget and go. So anyway, and I get home and I could hear it on the mic. I picked it up, but it sounds like a ooh. That's what it sounds like. But in real life, it was like a growl. And all I could think of is, oh my gosh, could that be maybe a tree that was like scraping?
Oh.
But I only did it once.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I don't know. So I went back up there with a camera, and I'm talking, right? Because my camera person was too scared to come with me. So I went up by myself, I'm talking, I'm looking, and I could see in the distance, I'm like, I see this black outline. And I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, is that a bear? Or is that like a burnt log? And I couldn't get close to it because there was a whole plantation of devil's club, or devil's claw. You know what that is? It's a plant, and it's long, and it has spikes all over it, and it has these big leaves. And there was a whole forest of it between me and probably 100 feet away. The black thing was shaped as a gorilla. It was actually shaped as a gorilla. I'm trying to look, and I'm filming, and my camera is going in and out of focus. And I'm a photographer, so I'm like trying to get, and at the same time I want to get close to it. But at the same time I'm thinking, well, if it's a bear, if I have to run, I have to run right through this devil's claw. So I decided not to go any closer. And so all this is in chapter 3. So you're not going to see it on this documentary here. But yeah, so if no one has any other questions, anything? No?
Let's see the documentary, maybe that'll spur some more questions.
Yeah, well, watch the documentary and then you can kind of ask questions. What do you have, little guy? What's your question? How was it with the tiger? Good question, good question. The tiger was scary. It was a pet that lived in a house with some guys, and yeah, it was quite interesting. And sit back down, sit back down. Just kidding. Okay, so let's watch the documentary. I'm going to play it now. If you can turn the lights off.
Yep, I was gonna do.
What time is that? That's part 2. Is this part 2?
No, this is part 2. So it's
This is part 2?
yeah, it's part 2. Yeah.
Is that good? Or everybody
That's good enough. See how the video looks.
Okay, here we go.
This animal is adept at hiding and can be in plain view and not seen.
Wait, this is the trailer. This is the teaser trailer. Okay, I'm going to play the teaser trailer until I can figure out why.
Large number of the population throughout North America that have no idea what lies beyond their concrete jungle. And they never venture into the deep, dark forest. My name is Jason Kenzie, and I'm on an investigation of a lifetime to find evidence of a forest legend These creatures are known as Sasquatches, and as a skeptic, I need first-hand experience before I can believe. So I've traveled deep into the dark forest to find these forest giants. I mean, look, what could go wrong? Stop! Don't move! Don't move! Stop! Stop! Stop!
You can turn off the light.